In this video, I will provide you with some guidance for how to do your term project. So here's what this video will cover. We'll talk about presentation basics, and by that I mean where you turn your presentations in, how you can get extra credit for turning them in early, and how you participate in the mini symposium. We'll also talk about the content that needs to go into the presentation, so that's going to be things like where you can find the written instructions, some tips on creating your thesis statement, how long the presentation should be, some guidance about how much text you should include on your slides, where you can find samples of student presentations from previous quarters, and where you can get some help with content. And lastly, I'll talk to you about some technical things, such as how to record and incorporate audio into your slides, and how to export your slides as a video and post them on YouTube if you choose to do that. That's not required. And where you can go to get technical help. In this video, I might be saying your term project, or I might be saying your presentation, right? They are interchangeable in your case in this class. So in this section, I'll discuss the presentation basics, where to turn your presentations in, how to get extra credit, and how to participate in the mini symposium. So first, where to turn your presentation in. The place where you turn your term project in is the same place where you can get information or the instructions on how to do the term project. So that's the term project assignment in the term project module. You can find the assignment at the bottom of the module as shown here circled. You'll notice at the top of the module it says to complete one item. That item is your term project. I have set it up this way so that the mini symposium module down below won't open for you until you have submitted your own term project to me using this link here. Okay, so next we'll talk about how you can get extra credit for turning in your presentation early. The earlier that you turn in your presentation, the more extra credit points you can receive. Check your course schedule for the exact dates. Generally, I start with the Friday before the presentation is due. You get 5 points extra credit if you turn it in by then. The previous week, it's 7.5 points extra credit if you turn your presentation in by that Friday. And then the previous week to that, you get 10 points extra credit if you turn in your presentation by the end of the day on Friday that day. Okay, so next I'll talk a little bit about the mini symposium. Once you have completed your term project and submitted it to me in the term project module, then go down to the mini symposium module to share it with your classmates too. I have separated it this way intentionally because I have a rubric set up to assess you on your term project performance, and I don't want that rubric being associated with the mini symposium discussion. I hope this makes sense. I know it feels cumbersome to have to submit your term project in two places. It's partially due to the clunky way that Canvas operates, but it's also that your professor can't think of a more creative workaround. So this next section is kind of lengthy. Here I will cover where you can find the instructions, the written instructions for your presentations, creating your thesis statement, some guidance on the length of presentations and how much text you should include on your slides, where to find student samples, and how to get some help if you need it. So first, here are some details on where to find the instructions. So once again, the instructions for how to do the term presentation are located in the presentation assignments. Just go in there and you will find a link to the instructions. Please read this thoroughly because it's got more detail in it than I'm covering with you today. Next, we'll talk about determining your focus. Remember, you should have already selected your theory using the theory selection survey on Canvas first, which you can find in the quizzes by going to the quizzes menu on the left and then looking under surveys. You want to do this before you do any work on your presentation because you want to make sure the theory you want is available. The nice thing about your textbook chapters is they are all laid out in roughly the same structure. Also, if you take a closer look at the assignment instructions, those same components are what I'm asking you to include. So it all goes together. There are also many, many great resources, I can't emphasize this enough, at the textbooks website. So please go there. That's aFirstLook.com. Take a look what is offered for your particular theory because it can give you some great ideas about relevant examples that you can pull from pop culture, such as scenes from TV shows, like I offered you in my video for social penetration theory. Remember, we looked at Cheers, we talked about Shrek a little bit too, right? There's also great examples and illustrations from daily life offered by students, former students of communication theory classes that they have on that same site. So that might give you some great ideas on things you can include to explain concepts. I would suggest, as opposed to using one of their examples, though, you think of your own. Okay, next I'm going to talk to you about creating a good thesis statement for your presentation. Creating a thesis or purpose statement for your term project in this class is going to be relatively simple. That is because you are creating a lesson presentation with the goal of teaching us about one theory from your textbook. So it would look something like what you see on the screen here. In this presentation, I will discuss or cover, and then you tell us the name of the theory. That's it. Okay, there's a lot of text on this slide, but just bear with me. This is not an example of what I want you to do in your presentations in terms of the look of this. I need to explain, okay? So one thing that's really nice to see on presentations, and particularly of this kind, a lesson, is when you offer us a preview of what you're going to cover so that we have some idea of where we are going. So what you see here, you've got, I have the thesis or purpose statement, right? So you say in this presentation, I will cover, and then in this case, I've got social penetration theory. And then after that, you'd want to say, okay, in your script and your audio narration, but not on the slide, please, because this is too much text. You want to say a preview of where you're going, right? So here is a preview, here is a good example of a preview, okay? Specifically, I will explain how the metaphor proposed by theorists Altman and Taylor helps us to understand varying levels of self-disclosure, okay? So basically right there, you're telling us I'm going to define this thing and I'm going to explain it a little bit, okay? Next bit is I will also evaluate this theory using criteria for a good objective theory. And I will consider criticisms offered by other theorists, and then I'll end with my own thoughts about the application of this theory in the future. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about those in just a second, but if you read your instructions for the assignment closely, you will recall that these items I've put in here that I've got bolded in different colors, those are the components that I'm asking for in your presentation. So essentially your preview is just going to give us an idea that you are going to cover those things. So what to put in your preview should directly correlate to what the rest of your presentation contains. So it should mirror your outline. And I suggest putting that outline up in a slide like this one, which effectively shows your audience where you're going, okay? The script text that I spoke and included on the previous slide would be spoken over this outline slide. You can call it whatever you like. You can call it table of contents or agenda. You can see here that I've labeled it what we'll cover. and then I've put in bulleted text, essentially the major parts of the presentation. So if you were to flip back to the previous slide for a second, and I won't because it'll stop my audio, but all of what's in those bullets there is essentially what I spoke in full sentences in a full paragraph on the previous slide. So I prefer your slides look like this and not like the other. I will explain why here in a moment. So next I want to talk to you about the length of your presentation. Generally, we spend 30 seconds to 1 minute of talking per slide when we do a presentation. That varies, of course, depending on what you're talking about and who is giving the presentation. But a general rule, I would say you should have about 7 content slides. And this does not include your title slide and your references slide. So in total, about 9 slides, 9 or 10, in order to have about a 7-minute to a 10-minute presentation. Now, obviously, like I said, it's 30 seconds to 1 minute. So you may have more slides than that because you might go faster. But that's just a general rule in case you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I have no idea how long this is going to take me. How much content do I need to develop? Start there, okay? Start with 7 content slides. And then when you're done making your slides, time yourself and see how long it takes you to get through them. Next, I will give you some guidance about how much text you should be putting on your slides. So text on slides is a common problem that I see not just with students, but everywhere. Most people put way too much text on slides when they're giving presentations. It's almost as if you're trying to write a book and display it to us on screen. The thing is, we are hearing your words, so we don't need to see all of that text. So think of if you start finding yourself writing a book, grab that text off the slide, don't delete it, grab it off, stick it down in your notes because I am going to want you to provide me with a script anyway. So a great place to put the script is in the notes of your slides if you're using a program like PowerPoint or Google Slides that has an option where you can put notes down below the slide. It's a great place to put it. So the general rule with presentation text is you should have a maximum no more than 7 bullets per slide, preferably less than that. Again, you want your audience to listen to you and not be trying to read at the same time. Their attention gets split if they're looking at 2 different things. So your bullets also should just be short, really short keywords and phrases. Do not put them in full sentences. Do not put full paragraphs, please, unless you are citing a source directly and you need to put a full sentence. So what to put on slides instead of text, you might wonder? Find images out there on the internet. It's great if you can put the source beneath the image itself. You can always hyperlink that if you don't want a big long URL down there beneath the image. And also put that in your references slide, the very last slide at the end. I want anything you've used as sources and preferably any sources for your images too on that references slide. A little more about referencing again. Anytime you pull an idea, concept from our textbook, even if you're paraphrasing it, please cite it appropriately on the slide itself. And also make sure you include your textbook in your reference list at the end. If you include any media as examples, you should also include those in the reference list at the end of your presentation. So next, I'll talk to you a little bit about student samples from prior iterations of this course. If you scroll beneath, as you can see here in the picture, if you scroll beneath the instructions and where you turn in the presentation, you'll see student samples listed, and you can go in and click on those to see a former student's version or interpretation of this assignment. Next, I'll give you some guidance about where you can get help if you need it. Our Learning Center at EOU has dedicated communication tutors who have taken my classes before, and they know what I'm looking for in these presentations. In fact, I worked directly with the Learning Center to get these individuals hired to help students because I do get a lot of questions every quarter on presentations, and I think it actually is very good for students to help each other and for them to give you a little bit of guidance in terms of are you on the right track, and if there's anything they know of that I tend to look for in these presentations, they can tell you about that. Of course, you can also look, if you're curious about how I grade, for example, take a look at the rubric that is attached to the term presentation discussion forum. It has all of the items in it that I'm looking for in terms of your delivery and your content. And if you remember early on, I mentioned I am not very particular about your delivery because I know this is not a public speaking course. I'm more concerned with the actual intellectual content that you're putting into the presentation. In this section, I will cover some technical aspects, tips on recording or incorporating audio, how to export your slides as a video and post them on YouTube if you choose, and where you can go for technical help. So you should know that the following instructions about audio and about exporting video are for PowerPoint. You don't have to use PowerPoint. I do have some instructions in the Read Me First document near the end. For details on how to record audio if you are using another presentation application. You can record audio straight from your phone. I mean, you can record the entire presentation that way if you or video. You can do video, it's okay. Straight from your phone, if you're most comfortable doing that, you can do that too. So those details I've provided in that document are just some high level because I don't know what device everyone has, but they're just some high level pointers and some links on where you can go to, say, Apple's website and Microsoft website, for example. So all EOU students have free access to Office 365, which includes PowerPoint. I don't know if you all knew that, because I know a lot of you don't use PowerPoint or haven't used PowerPoint. The challenge is the version of PowerPoint that comes with Office 365 doesn't have the capability to include audio per slide like these instructions I'm about to give you. So I have a tip for you if that is how you are accessing PowerPoint. So if you are going into PowerPoint from Office 365, your screen will look like this. You'll see this little button here that says Open in Desktop App. In which case you should click that. It'll probably ask you to install PowerPoint at that point. But that is the way you can get the version of PowerPoint that will allow you to add audio. Okay, so first I'm going to talk to you about incorporating or recording audio. So in PowerPoint, there are tabs along the top of the screen. Click the Insert tab. And you'll notice the buttons change depending which tab you've clicked. So once you've clicked the Insert tab, you'll see the Media tab pop up. It should be one of the last buttons over on the right. Click that. And from there, you should get various options. One of those is Audio. Click that. And then you get a sub-menu, and if you want to record audio right then and there on the spot for that one slide, click Record Audio. That is how I have produced all of the videos that you've seen by me this quarter. If you've already recorded audio and it's broken up into little bits so that you can put it on the different slides, you can choose the option right above that, which is Audio on My PC. So next I'll talk to you about exporting your slides as a video and posting that video on YouTube. All right, so again in PowerPoint, click the File tab up at the top left. And if you are in the desktop version of PowerPoint, you'll get these options. Once you click File, you'll see Export down there, so click that one. And these are the options that appear on your screen after you clicked export. The option that you want is create a video, which should be the third option down from the top. And you'll see some, once you click that, you'll see some options appear over on the right, like you see here. This next part you don't have to do, but since this is just a video for this class, you don't really need full HD. So what I do is I go down to the smallest option, which is standard 480 pixels. And then click the Create Video button to create your video. Once you do that, you'll be prompted with another dialog box that asks you where you want to save the video, what you want the video to be called, and so forth. It should default to the same location that your PowerPoint presentation is saved in. So once you do that, you'll see that dialog will go away and you'll see what you see on my screen here, which is your PowerPoint presentation again, and a little status bar at the bottom, which indicates that the video is exporting, and it will take a little bit of time to export. So once your video is exported to a location on your hard drive on your computer, you'll want to go into your YouTube account. If you haven't created one, you need to create one. You should be able to easily from within your apps connected with EOU. Once you're in your YouTube account, you'll see this option that says YouTube Studio. You'll want to click that. And the next screen that you'll see will look something like this. Hopefully, if your device is similar to mine, you'll want to upload videos. And then you should get a screen that looks something like this, which is asking you to select the file you want to upload. This is the file that we just exported from PowerPoint. Or you can drag and drop it right onto this screen. So once you have selected the video that you want to import, you should see a screen that looks like this. I don't set too many options over there on the left. There is one that's required, and it will prompt you to set that, and that's whether the video is for children. I would just say no. It's for 18 and above. But you don't need to restrict or anything like that. I would do your best to click next. There's a couple screens like this. Click next, and if there's something that's required, it'll stop you. All right, and one of the final screens that you see looks like this. It's asking about essentially the link to publish your video. Unless you want the public to see it, which you can if you're going to use this for, say, interviews or anything like that, you can put it as public. But for our purposes for this class, you can just put unlisted there. What that means is if you just provide the link to anyone in the world, they can see it, but they won't automatically see it listed in your videos on your YouTube account. When your video has finished uploading and being published, you'll get a screen that looks like this, and near the bottom you see the link there. That's the link that you'll need to share with us in this class so that we can view your video. So the last step would be to post your presentation or the YouTube link, if you did YouTube, into the mini symposium discussion forum so that your classmates can see it and can respond to it. Okay, and then lastly, where you can get technical help if you're having some problems. Your best bet for technical help is simply contacting the help desk, let them know what's happening, and see if they can aid you and guide you in any way. You can also post your question in our Q&A discussion forum to see if any fellow students know the answer. I will provide the answer if I know it, if I can help you, but I might not know it, especially if it's some other application outside of what I just showed you here. But feel free to post it. So the rest of you who are technical whizzes, keep your eye on that forum to see if you can help your fellow students if anyone's having trouble. And that's it. So again, please reach out to the Q&A discussion forum, or depending what kind of problem you're having, or contact the Learning Center if you want some content help. Contact me if it's a question of a more private nature. With respect to these presentations, please know that I can't review everybody's presentation before you turn it in. I can give you a little guidance in the beginning. If you're feeling stuck about a certain item, feel free to send me a question. But better yet, post it in the Q&A discussion forum just in case other people have the same question. I really look forward to these presentations and to our mini symposium coming up in a few weeks.